Welcome back to the Reclaiming Creativity Summit. Today I have Zitty Nxumalo on with us, and Zitty is amazing. She was born in Swaziland, South Africa, and moved to Greensboro, North Carolina with her family when she was 4 years old. She grew up passionate about authenticity, stories, dance, and leadership, and has worked in a number of sectors, including higher education, nonprofit, and finance. No matter the role, every position has led her back to those same passions. They now serve as the foundation for Deftable LLC. In 2016, Zitty was recognized as one of the Triad Journal's 40 Leaders Under 40 and received a full scholarship to attend Google's Search Inside Yourself Leadership Institute in New York. Her Search Inside Yourself Leadership Institute experience strengthened her ability to approach inner development and leadership as the convergence of emotional intelligence, mindfulness, and neuroscience. She has facilitated emotional intelligence workshops for the Salisbury Police Department, authentic leadership workshops for universities, nonprofit organizations, and faith-based institutions, and is on the staff as an adjunct coach with the Center for Creative Leadership. In 2018, Deftable LLC partnered alongside Social Designs Consulting and Professional Business Cultures to co-host the annual Bloom Inclusion Seminar. The third annual Bloom Inclusion Seminar will be held here in Greensboro, North Carolina on October 3rd in 2020. As a freelance writer, Zitty's work has been featured in several publications, including O. Henry Magazine, Triad City Beat, Black Business Inc. magazine, and Huffington Post. She has also authored speeches, op-eds, and research-based web content on a variety of topics, including leadership, spirituality, and culture. Zitty is a lover of the arts and has danced with the E. Gwynn Dance Company of NCANT University for over 15 years. She is currently working in the School of Health and Human Sciences at UNC Greensboro as a student success navigator and life design catalyst coach. Zitty earned her BS in business management from Guilford College, her MA in communication studies from UNC Greensboro, and her PhD in leadership studies from North Carolina A&T State University. Zitty, it is such an honor and a privilege to have you here on the Creativity Summit with us today. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. I'm excited to be here. I appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely. So, Zitty, you have such a varied background, and that's part of why I really wanted you to be a part of this Creativity Summit, because you specialize in so many different things, in leadership, in diversity inclusion work, especially with Deftable, and dance background. And I'm just kind of touching high level on some of the many things that you have your hands in. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about what creativity means to you.
Oh, goodness. Well, I happen to believe that we are, all products of a creator of some sort. I know that different people have different names for it. Allah, Yeshua, God, the universe, whatever. And so I believe that as products of creation, it's like embedded within us to be creative as well. And so, the older I've gotten, the more I've come to appreciate creativity, with all of the educational processes that I've been through. A lot of that is about, internalizing the ideas that other people have had, even as you're trying to shape your own. And so now I feel like I'm at this really exciting place in my own life where the creativity can have full reign, because I have ideas all the time. It's always been like that for me. I've been an imaginative little girl. And I'm just always thinking of something. I'll daydream or, go off somewhere at any second. And so I just feel like creativity to me means allowing ourselves to be the vessels through which ideas can come.
Yes. I love that. Being the vessels through which ideas can come. I think that's really powerful. And you do so much work with leaders and leadership development and leadership theory. And I'm wondering if you can speak to what creativity can do for leaders. Like, can you tell when someone is being creative, and what does that look like? And can you tell when, someone's stuck, creatively speaking, as far as leadership goes? And kind of, can you paint that picture for us?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I feel like the most important role of a leader in the creativity process is being able to listen really, really well. And then being able to ask people the right questions. And it hasn't been, both of those things haven't been things that I've been great at always, but I'm really appreciative of being at a place where I can pay more attention to that. And so leadership and creativity to me go hand in hand. If you're able to ask people the right questions to draw out from within them what's already there, and if you're able to identify, what people's gifts and strengths are to allow that to happen on its own. I mean, I really think that's what it is being a great listener to other people and knowing what questions to ask, because the creative process is within all of us. I truly believe that we all have an ability to create something. And
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's what leadership is to me. It's just drawing it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the leaders that you work with, what do you see, what are common characteristics of a leader that might be stuck, creatively speaking?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, Alicia. Like, I feel like we're living in a time historically where a lot of the old ways that people used to look at leadership are beginning to change. So you can look at like me and you right now, being able to have this webinar about creativity and leadership and saying things like being vessels for, you used to not be able to say things like that without being judged as, kind of out there or woo woo or whatever. And so now what I would say is the most common reason for people being stuck is just people being in their own space of awakening and saying, you know what, I'm tired of this. I want to let go of this old way of doing things and these old rules that people told me were supposed to be where I'm going. And I want to open myself up to what life could be and what leadership could be and what this project could be if I took the limits off of it. And so for me, it's like, yeah, I feel like we're making history now, for women, for people of color, for immigrants, for all of these different populations who historically haven't necessarily been included as a part of that innovation and creativity conversation. I'm like, oh yeah, we're the ones.
Yes.
So it's exciting. The short answer to your question, that stuckness is the shift from old ways of thinking and old ways of doing things to new ways.
Yeah. Or do you feel like it's almost like the stuckness is like not ready to shift?
Okay.
Like you're still in that old way, and you don't want to, like, you're not ready to like tiptoe into the new possibilities.
Yeah, because there's fear associated with that. People tend to like processes and predictability, especially within work environments. They want to know what they're getting. But then once you start exploring and expanding, there's definitely an element of fear that's involved in that. And everybody's not ready for it.
Because change is scary.
It is. It can be, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of your creative practices? I mean, I know you're a dancer, and I'm wondering if you can tell folks a little bit about your dance background and maybe how that's informed the work that you do now.
Yeah. So I feel really, really fortunate. When I was a middle school student at Aycock Middle School, which is now Swan. It's called Swan Middle School now. My PE teacher was Dr. Cheryl Stevens, and she started a dance group at the middle school. And she herself was a member of the dance company at A&T. And so through that middle school dance group, we were able to participate in performances and things with the older college kids. And so for me, I mean, it just was a dream come true. I've always liked dance. When I was a little girl in the living room, I used to put on like a leotard and tights and do the like beach aerobics with Denise Austin and Galad Jankowicz. I mean, this old movement has always been just a part of how I live my life. And so
Right.
dance provided like structure, camaraderie, exposure to all these different choreographic styles. And it's been a very freeing thing for me. And so even now, because of my schedule, I can't rehearse with the dance company as often as I'd like, but in my own home, I will put on, some music, I'll put on some comfortable clothes or my pajamas. I just have to move my body. I just have to. I must. Like, it's the way that I process emotions. It's the way that I get in touch, with my mind. I can be very heady, I'm a very analytical thinker. And so movement helps me to drop down a little more into my own body, and it helps me to think through problems a lot more effectively. And so I just didn't take it as seriously as a young girl in middle school, but now as an adult, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a necessity just for my overall well-being. So
Yeah. And I'm curious, you're talking about how it helps you think through problems. Do you think it helps you think through problems because it gets you out of your head and into your body?
absolutely. I mean, it's like a physiological way of getting unstuck. I'm going back to the question that you asked about that stuckness. Sometimes I can be stuck intellectually and it can get released or worked out through a physical movement, And
Yeah.
that's why sometimes, like, if I'm in the middle of a writing project and I run out of ideas, I have to go, take a walk or watch a funny show or do something that'll just break up the monotony of it and get me out of that stuck space. So dancing does that for me too.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can 100% relate to that, as I've not danced as much as you have, but I was a dance minor too in college. And I think that's something you and I've bonded on. I love.
Yes.
I hope you pull me into your dance troupe at some point.
Look, I'm going to hold you to that. Stop playing, Alicia.
I'm not playing. I want in.
Okay. All
And
right.
I want to encourage everybody listening, if like there's a little calling in your heart for something that you did in the past, or, something that you've never tried before, to go do it, to go try it, get out there, just, take the chains off yourself. Like,
Yep.
you're not a bird in the cage.
Yeah. We don't need permission for it. So
Yeah. Everybody, I'm just like Liz Gilbert says, I'm writing you all permission slips. Like, get out there, go do it.
Exactly.
So I'm wondering, what are some of your favorite ways to practice creativity?
Yeah. Well, so in addition to the dancing, I'm also a writer. I read years ago Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way. And in that book, she talks about morning pages, just, starting your day off writing freehand thoughts. I do it all the time. If sometimes I have, students in my classroom working on an assignment, I'll have my own notebook and I'm just writing out my thoughts.
Yeah.
Because what I've come to, I'm learning to appreciate that about myself, that my thoughts are just always going, and writing them out helps me not to get overwhelmed by my own mental processes,
Yeah.
So writing is definitely one. I absolutely love nature and the water. I've made a commitment to myself this year to take myself to the beach at least 3 or 4 times a year. Being by the ocean, I mean, it'll literally bring me to tears, because it just takes me to a place of expanding who I am and where I am. Because a lot of times, we can get stuck in whatever our day-to-day lives look like and what we have to do, or challenges that we might be facing. And so for me, being by the ocean, having my bare feet in the sand, I mean, that is a creative practice. It's ritual for me that helps me to connect back to the things that really matter.
Yeah.
And just any sort of like environmental scenic experience. I buy flowers for myself, just because I like coming downstairs and seeing roses or whatever. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel happy. I like how they smell. I'm a full sensory leader,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that those little things that we do for ourselves, those little touches, how we do our hair in the morning, the way we distract ourselves, like, instead of binging on Netflix, I've been trying to, like, I'm working on a sewing project, and, or like, I've knit this sweater, like the things that we do for ourselves that are not, we say we don't have time, right? But there's always some time somewhere. It's like, how are you spending that extra half an hour you have, or that extra hour you have? You can always put that towards a creative practice in some way.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, not to knock the Netflix binges, because
Oh yeah, that's great too.
Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? It just recognizing what it is that you're needing, mentally,
Yeah.
and otherwise. And that's one of the rules that we have to take off too, is like, people will say these hard, fast things like, real leaders don't watch TV.
Not true.
It's just not true. You decide,
Right.
how you want to allocate the 24 hours in your day. And it's not going to look the same as anyone else, maybe.
Yeah.
And just allowing ourselves to do that.
Oh yeah. And thanks for that, for saying that, because I think it's such a good reminder. I mean, I do have, like, I personally have Netflix binges as well. Yeah. And then I was like, what am I doing? After a while, I was like, this isn't adding anything. So now it's the sewing project. And eventually it'll probably go back to a Netflix binge for a little while. But right now, filling that time with creativity, but embracing whether it's a Netflix binge or if it's some other form of creativity.
Exactly. And it's like you saying that when you get to that point where you're like, I'm doing too much, and you'll say it. I mean, you'll think it, your body will tell you like, okay, I've been on this couch for a little too long. That's part of that self-leadership,
Yes.
that I like to help clients focus on, is like paying attention to those voices. There aren't any hard, fast rules here, but your body creates its own rules. And so when you listen to that and you operate in your day according to that, we get better,
Yes.
Yeah.
Zitty, self-leadership. Wow.
Self-leadership,
what a concept.
Because how on earth can we begin to profess that we want to lead someone else if we don't know how to lead and listen to ourselves? This is a process that I'm going through even on my own, is understanding how to better lead myself.
Yeah. What else can we do to help better lead ourselves?
Solitude. I'm a huge fan of solitude. And especially for, people like us who are social. I like people most of the time. And the way that my life has gone, I've always been a part of some sort of like group or some sort of camaraderie or something. And so for me, in these adult years, I've come to understand how much the voices of others have impacted the woman that I've become, but then spending on purpose more time by myself in silence so that I can know unquestionably what I think about a thing, how I feel about a thing, and then recognizing what those other sort of infiltrating voices might be and sorting through that on purpose. Like the days are gone for us to just kind of be on autopilot about life. We've got exposure to way too much information, way too many teachers, just way too much of everything. And so I take that self-leadership and just awareness super seriously. And I have the benefit of living by myself right now, so I know that it can be a lot more difficult for people who have spouses and families and things like that. But again, creativity, finding creative ways to have that time of solitude, to know how you feel about a thing, what you think about something. Because even that is like a declaration to the world. There's so many of us who don't allow ourselves to have our own opinions or thoughts about something. We just kind of go along to get along. But if we started really acknowledging how we feel about something, our whole lives might just change.
Yes.
Yeah.
100% agree with you on all of that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing it. And I hope that everybody thinks about self-leadership in their own life and what that would look like for them after this conversation. I think that's a really powerful concept to be thinking about. I'm wondering how you use creativity to access your inner wise woman.
Oh, goodness. Well, creativity has helped me to trust that I am a wise woman. It's something that I haven't trusted a lot, because again, like in a dance space and in an academic space, there's hyper critique all the time. Critique of your thoughts, critique of your body, da, 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 da. And for me, when I allow myself, let's say at home, if I'm dancing, not to anybody else's choreography, but just doing what my body naturally wants it to do, I'm like, I think I might be able to dance, Like, and so just taking more risks in that kind of a way. Sometimes I'm inclined to do something. Like I have an ancestral altar at home and I've got this string of 9 bells there. And sometimes if I'm feeling like an emotional frustration, I just have to like make noise. And so I'll will ring the bells or I'll clap my hands just to, again, get that energy out of my body, which if I were to do something like that in a public domain, people might think, I've lost it. But something powerful comes as a result of me trusting myself and doing what my body and my heart lead me to do. And so the more I do that, the more I take those courageous steps to do what comes naturally to me, the more I'm able to trust those decisions in myself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I love all of it.
Yeah.
And I'm also building an ancestral altar. So you are not alone.
Talk about it. Yeah. Yeah.
So Zitty, thank you for sharing all of this wisdom with us. I think you have a free gift for everyone. Can you tell us what that is?
I do. So, in true educator form, I have got a handout that just includes my 10 top leadership lessons. In my mind, the leadership lessons will never stop. And so I want to always be able to revisit those that have been most important and most helpful for me. And so that'll be a document that I'll have available for people if they want it, so we can grow and learn together.
Great. I will put the link to download that on underneath your interview. And Zitty, thank you so much for being a part of the summit. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Alicia. I appreciate it.